Today is March 29th, 2023, and this is the second episode of the New York Yankees Kingdom podcast. I'm your host, Sean Vowles. Today I'm joined by Jackson Treneman and Chris Lorenzo. It's the day before opening day, guys, and we'll get into a couple things here, but first, this episode is presented by Sports Daily Media Network, your one-stop shop for all things sports. Be sure to check out the content, sportsdailymedianetwork.com. Sports blog is going, and then on the many Instagram accounts.
It's also presented by Picks by Chris. So we got Sports is Our Game. Who you got? We just came out with our projected standings on our Instagram and an article that goes into more detail about that. But yeah, let's get into the show.
So I also did one too. Pretty similar templates because Chris made it. We had a couple that were exactly the same, and then a couple discrepancies. But we'll get into it. Giants tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the number one headline in Yankee land right now is the 21-year-old from New Jersey making the team. Anthony Volpe will be the starting shortstop tomorrow. He will probably get a lot of reps. Chris saw him a lot last year at Somerset. Had a little run at AAA, but he absolutely tore it up in the spring. And for the first time in the last couple of years, the Yankees go with the common sense move. I can't say that that's happened very much. Jackson, initial thoughts on Volpe making the roster?
I mean, a month ago, I thought it was unheard of, not because he isn't talented or anything, but just how, like you said, how the Yankees manage this organization. Usually it's the guys that are under those longer term contracts, the guys that they, for some reason, feel more comfortable about. Even last year, when Oswaldo was producing well for them, they still wouldn't go to him nearly enough. So I thought after running IKF there all last year that they were gonna go Peraza. Obviously, it was pretty clear early in the spring that it wasn't going to be IKF again. But I mean, I'm glad. I'm really happy. I think that the Yankees making that type of move is great for them. And I think it really comes down to like Judge and other guys publicly stating it to the media throughout the process of like when your captain's out there saying, I'm always a proponent of playing the best person, no matter what their age is. There it is. And Volpe played amazing, and he's honestly exactly what they need. So I just can't wait for tomorrow, top of the first roll call for Volpe. I mean, just think about it. I mean, he's basically our age, and he's going to be the shortstop for the New York Yankees. You can't get better than that.
Yeah, Chris?
I agree. I mean, we already talked about this a little bit on the last episode.
Well, we
But
didn't think it would actually happen.
I know. Well, it's just crazy because going into it, going into spring training, they're basically like, you can fight for the job and all that, but they kind of just thought they were going to send him to AAA after and see what happened. But he earned it. He was phenomenal. And I feel bad for Peraza, but they're going to get him in at second base, they said, in AAA as well. So we might see him up pretty soon as well.
Yeah, and Peraza was optioned to AAA. The final roster isn't. There is no final roster yet. The last bullpen spot, they sent both people down who were supposed to get it. And then obviously they signed Franchy Cordero, who we think will be on the roster. So you'll just have to hold on for the final 26 tomorrow. But a couple more things about Volpe here. Chris mentioned it before we started recording. Chris, he's getting the number 11, and he asked Brett Gardner if it was okay. And Gardner obviously said yes. But really, Gardner didn't really get the send-off that he probably deserves. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts about that and the new number 11?
I think it's just sad for Gardner, though, because he was a great Yankee and handled the media great. He played with so much passion, and he was just awesome. But it is really cool that he's kind of like passing the torch to Volpe, and it's like, I feel like if someone else asked for number 11, it would have been like, oh, I don't know if we'll give it to him, but it's Volpe, and he's got all the guys surrounding him, and I think Gardner's going to be a mentor to him too. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think selfishly, I kind of wanted Volpe to be his own thing. Like, I didn't want him to be 77 because of Frazier.
Hmm.
11 as Gardner. I mean, that's fine. I was up at 3 a.m. last night on MLBshop.com, and I was this close to buying customizing a Volpe 77 jersey and getting it. And I just had the wherewithal. Wait a little bit just in case. So I'll be working on my way to get the Volpe jersey. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I remember I mean, the Brett Gardner, like, it sounds crazy, but Volpe's going to actually have to live up to be a Brett Gardner. Like, Brett Gardner's one of my favorite Yankees of all time just because he did every little thing right. And I think that's a good comparison to Volpe. So far, he's done everything right. He's acted the right way. He gets on. He's a five-tool player. I mean, I don't think we've been this excited because even Torres, I guess what Torres has been their top prospect, their highest prospect in recent memory. Because even Judge, Gary, like they ended up being good, but it's the first time we really have a prospect this high in a while.
And he's still ranked number 5 in the MLB. I'll ask you too. One more thing about Volpe here. Are you guys fans of the Boone fake out office meeting where it looked like he wasn't going to do it. Boone's like, hey, you only got 20 games at AAA. You did great in the spring. And then he kind of flipped the switch and said, we want that development to come in the major leagues. Are you guys fans of that? Because I don't really think I am.
I like the idea of it because like I think it's like a funny joke that like a lot of people do, but I think he executed it like really bad, to be honest. Like I was watching it and I was like, wait, like this makes no sense, and I was like, this is just weird. It's not even like funny at this point. Like some of the other ones are like with Adley Rutschman with him catching, they're like, oh, how do you feel? Like we think that you shouldn't catch tomorrow or whatever. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then they're like, well, because you're gonna catch for the Orioles. Like that was like made more sense to me, but. It's cool, whatever. It's a moment he'll never forget. I think it's cool, but a little corny.
I'm always a proponent for comedy, and I don't think it's a bad idea. But like Chris said, I mean, you have Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman in the room. Could you think of two more awkward human beings? It was just again, it was fine. Volpe getting called up was the main moment, and I'm glad he had that moment. Uh, it's just I think the after part was better. His whole family was in the dugout. He was smiling, taking pictures. So I mean, that's what you play baseball for, those type of moments. Even the fans like us who love the actual sport. I mean, we live for the off the field stuff and how the guys. And again, we relate to Volpe more than other players at the moment. But I just think Boone's a weird person. So we're gonna see a lot of him with John Boy this year. He's gonna be talking to them once a week. So I think that should be fun.
Yeah, it was clear that Boone wanted Volpe to be up, and there was some resistance from the other people in the room. Like they said, they had that fist to the table meeting, and by process of elimination, I really do think Cashman was the one holding him back. He was the one wanting Peraza, by the way that he spoke, and by the way that Boone has talked. But it looks like Cashman got outnumbered, and in the true spirit of competition, they said it was a competition, and everyone's like, oh, is it really a competition? Well, it was. So.
Well, everyone always says the Yankees act like the Yankees are like this like gold standard. Honestly, it hasn't been like that in a while. They always cater to aging veterans. They never really get their young guys a chance. I mean, we're seeing this with like Florial, and again, who knows? Maybe he wouldn't have been good. Or guys like Frazier or guys like Andujar. But they were good at a point. You never played them consistently enough. And then what happens when they don't get consistent at bats? They get bad, and then you have to move on from them. I think Volpe, what we have to have for him this season is like a Bobby Witt Jr. season from last year. Play 150 games, whatever. It doesn't really matter how you play in those games. Just be playing in those games, and everything will come naturally. And by the second or third year, you're going to be good. Not everyone's going to be Judge hitting 50-plus homers in year one.
I do think, well, now let's transition to expectations for year one for Volpe. I think it would be nice if he gets a hit tomorrow. Not imperative. I don't think really just hit, don't hit in the 100s. 20 stolen bases, double-digit homers. I just think he doesn't have to go 40 and 40. I think a good goal for him should be 250 and 15 homers and 20 stolen bases. But I don't think a number should be put on it already. It's going to be much easier to watch him field a ball at shortstop than double pump
That's
IKF.
all I want. That's all I want.
Yeah, and he seems really smooth with it, and Peraza might be the better defender long term, but Volpe is certainly an upgrade defensively over the people that we've thrown out there the last couple of years, whether that's Glaber or IKF. Not Velasquez. Velasquez was pretty nice with it, but he also couldn't hit the ball.
Velasquez and Wade were dirty. They just swung noodle bats.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So, any ideas on expectations for Volpe this year? I'm on the train of just don't be terrible. Just be a serviceable MLB player.
No, I definitely agree with that. You can't try and do too much. I feel like definitely going to be nervous because it's that thing like playing for your favorite team. Hopefully, it's not a Joey Gallo kind of thing. I don't think it will be, but that was a serious thing. Like,
why are you
Gallo grew
saying
up
that
in
name,
Houston.
Chris? Why are you putting that thought in her?
Just had to, but no, Volpe, he's different. I think he's gonna be great. It's just managing expectations. I mean, I feel like year one might be a little bit rough for him, but I think he'll have an overall okay season, and then going from there, like in like next year, 2 years, I think he'll be phenomenal and definitely a household MLB name, not just for the Yankees.
Yeah, I look at him just being like a better IKF. I mean, like for all the bad fielding IKF did at shortstop last year, he put the ball in play. He was our best hitter with runners in scoring position. I think he led the the team in steals, if I'm not mistaken, or at least it seemed that way. So he did everything else well, other than really fielding his position. So if Volpe can just make routine plays, obviously we've seen him make some spectacular plays too. Make routine plays, put the ball in play, and run. I mean, the new rules cater to Volpe more than like anybody. I mean, bigger bases, they can only throw over 3 times. I know in like one of the last spring games, the pitcher actually did throw over 3 times and balked him over to second. So if he can just get in run, especially in like the 9 spot, we're going to see another 100+ RBI season out of DJ back to the 2019 season where, I mean, people were on all the time and he was just raking. So it was really, I want to get back to that. But I mean, as long as I just want him to play games, whatever he does is fine. Just play 145+ games.
Yeah, and I think he'll be last year's IKF. He'll be the shortstop, and when he's not in there, somebody else will be. He won't play any other position. IKF will move into the Marwin Gonzalez from last year role of playing everywhere and being an option.
He's an option.
You can pinch run or pinch hit for anyone because you can just throw IKF there. That's what they did last year with Marwin. They'd throw somebody out there to run, whether it was the catcher or the. And Marwin, you could always fit him in. I think that's IKF right now, and that's an expensive bench utility runner role. Not many teams are paying $6 million to their bench utility runner, but that seems like what IKF will be this year. I do think Cabrera, it seems like he's going to be in the outfield. He probably will be starting there tomorrow. I don't think we'll see him in the infield a whole lot, especially with the logjam they have. There may be a couple injuries, but I think the pecking order is pretty clear. I think they have an idea of how this team is going to be rolling out there, and we know that everybody's going to get an off day in the first 2 weeks. That's just how the Yankees do it. They kind of treat April like the spring training extended. We'll do guess the lineup later, but that's I didn't think that they'd do it with Volpe, and unfortunately for Peraza, he got on the wrong end of it. But now let's transition into the rotation. Before spring training, I would have said that our rotation's one of the top 2 in baseball, with the addition of Rodon and Sevy and Nestor and Cole. But everybody's gotten hurt pretty much, and that's in addition to some bullpen guys who are injured. So this is what the rotation looks like it'll be to start the year. Cole will get the ball tomorrow. Schmidt, Game 2. Herman, Game 3. Nestor will go Game 4. He got a little late start in spring. He pitched yesterday against Washington in the exhibition game. And then Johnny Brito will be 5th. So what are your guys' thoughts on the rotation right now? And can they hold it down until the big arms get back, or are you a little bit worried on that front?
Well, first off, I think it's really frustrating that we get these injuries every year. And it's not like just like small injuries or like injuries to like a player who's like not that big of a deal. Like we got this pitcher to be our 1A pitcher. He wasn't even supposed to be like our 2 pitcher. He's supposed to be a stud, go out there and get wins. He's missing time. And Sevy said that he felt great a couple weeks ago. Like he was ready to get into action, and now this, and I think they can hold it down for the most part. I mean, I think these guys aren't like scrubs though. I mean, I don't really know about Brito that much, but Schmidt and Herman, like they've been able to pitch at the big league level and do a decent job. So, I mean, they're not going to be in there for too long, I don't think. And maybe like Sevy's going to miss like 3 or 4 starts. So I don't know. I think it's not going to be like the whole season with these guys, obviously. So I think they'll do a decent enough job. But that's why I lowered the Yankees' win total to 96. Like when we first got all these guys, I thought we could win over 100. But obviously, injuries play a role.
Yeah, Yankees really never have problem pitching, starting or bullpen. Even with all the injuries they've had over the years, I'm not really worried. I mean, Cole and Nestor are gonna keep you in games at the worst. Herman has consistently shown that he's a really decent major league pitcher. I mean, he's not gonna go throw 8 shutout innings on a consistent basis, although he does it sometimes. He's just gonna be decent. You know what you're getting from him. And then Clark has like the stuff. I wanted him to be the 5 starter, over Herman actually, from the when that was a part of the thing. Now they're both in it, but I have no problems with any of them. I love new faces too, so I'm excited to see Brito too. Again, they're gonna have these guys capped at 5, 6 innings anyway to the start of the season. I mean, they'll use Mike King couple innings one day. I mean, I know we're waiting for like Trevino and Canley to get back, but I mean, they're gonna abuse Abreu's arm. He's gonna be like a long guy. We still have. They're gonna throw Wandy a lot. So I mean, having a good bullpen masks the issue. Normally, this would be an issue for starting, but I'm not worried really at all. I mean, I'm more worried about the hitting, honestly. I think we're gonna pitch fine. I just don't think we have consistent enough hitting at the end of the day, and hopefully, like Volpe can change that. But we'll see.
Yeah, this is the. I think this is the limit for the starting pitching depth. You know, you need more than 5 starters nowadays, and we're tapping into 6, 7, and 8 right off the bat. And Brito was, you know, he's 25, but he was still seen as a prospect, and he's had a great spring, had 5 perfect innings in his last outing. So I think that he can hold it down if needed. And Boone said something about maybe not needing him every time through because there's a couple of extra off days in here because it's the start of the year. Like they play Thursday, they play tomorrow against San Francisco, and then Friday's off. So Garrett wants to pitch on regular rest. They don't need to use Brito for the first time, and then they play the Orioles next Thursday on a Thursday, and then they get Friday off. So there's another day. So they might not need a 5th starter every time through just to get these guys on regular rest. But Montas is the only one who's out long term, I think. Might be June or July before he comes back. But Rodon and Sevy and Canley and Trevino, I think they're all supposed to be back within a month or two. So hopefully they get in there. Like Jackson said, I think our pitching's fine anyway. You know, we've still got Clay, Loizaga, and Wandy back there, and Michael King. So the teams
Michael King probably being the best of all of them.
Teams don't have 4 better relievers than those. So I think we got to lean on that as a strength. You know, teams don't really hit early in the year, especially in the cold. It's going to be freezing tomorrow, so expect it to be a low-scoring game. But I think our pitching's okay for now. Another injury, though. I mean, if we do lose another starter, who's it going to be? I mean,
Davey Garcia.
It could be Davey. He had the best ERA for qualifying pitchers in spring training for the Yankees.
Are there other options?
Yeah, I mean that's
Brian Weber,
the web dog, and his funky delivery.
Yeah, we'll see. They'll just start bringing up those guys and have them go a couple innings and then throw Abreu, Cordero. I'm actually excited about it. Going a little off topic, Jimmy Cordero. I didn't realize he's kind of nice. He's hopefully Matt Blake can just abuse his. I know he throws a hard sinker, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, the pitching. We've heard a couple names make it. Marinaccio made it. Weissert got sent down actually, and so did Ian Hamilton. There might be another name that the Yankees will pick up in the next 12 hours, I guess, to get that last bullpen spot, or they might just go with Florial and Cordero in the outfield. That's still an option to go one less pitcher.
Well, Sean,
but go ahead.
What do they have right now? Because they said they were doing 13 position players and 13 arms.
So
So what do you think they're at right
they
now?
said they're bringing Florial to New York, and then the Cordero signing happened.
Cordero's not definitely on the major league team either.
Franchi Cordero.
Yeah, he had a minor league. He
Yeah.
had a minor league option.
But
Yeah.
the tweet said that he signed. It was thought of that he'll be on the major league roster. So both of those could be on. They could go one pitcher short, but I don't think that's a good idea early in the year. And they said the last bullpen spot was between Hamilton and Weissert, and they both are headed to Scranton. So I do think there'll be another ad here late. But I like our pitching still. I think it's still a top 5 staff in the league between the pen and the starters, but one more starter down, and I think we could be in some trouble early, especially if the bats don't show up, which we've seen from time to time in April. I mean, there's one game in March this year, but still, we've got off to slow starts with the bat before. So that's kind of it for pitching. I think if we get a roster notification, we'll let you know. I don't know where that's at. I haven't checked recently, so maybe
Yankees will release that at 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not good about that.
Yeah. So last time Chris and I gave our season expectations, we said that the Yankees still should win the AL East, and we expect them to, but we don't see them hanging number 28. Jackson, I just want to get your thoughts on the Yankees' expectations for this season and where you think we'll end up.
Well, as crazy as it sounds, I'm not going to be happy with anything other than a World Series. But I'll take it a step down and say, beat the Astros. Like, you can't win the World Series without getting out of the AL. But the last time they won the World Series was 2009. The last time they got out of the AL was 2009. Like, at a certain point, when a team just beats you over and over, and it's not like they're beating you with the same people. The hitters have stayed relatively the same, but the pitching staff is just like completely rolled over. They beat us with Cole and McCullers was their ace once. Then it was Cole. Then it was Verlander. Now it's like Framber. So it's just crazy how all of it comes. But yeah, beat the Astros, I'd say, is the minimum point. Obviously, you can't really say much further than that. I'm expecting a team that's spending this much money and is this good to win the World Series. So I'll leave it at that. Win the World Series. Win the whole thing.
You think the Blue Jays pose a genuine threat for the AL East or no?
No.
Yeah,
I think
I
the
don't
Yankees.
either.
I think the Yankees are the only threat to themselves. Like they have to get to a magic number. It's not going to be because the Blue Jays are going to go win 100 games. Like I don't think the Blue Jays are built like that. And who knows? They could prove me wrong. But winning the AL East means that you get a bye because the winners of the AL East and the AL West are going to have the bye because the AL Central winner isn't going to win 95 plus games. So if you win the AL East, you get a bye, and then you only have to win 2 series to get to the World Series. I don't know if the Yankees have it in them to win a 3-game series, a 5-game series, and then a 7-game series. So I think you definitely got to win the AL East if you want any of these dreams to come true.
Well, both teams that made the World Series last year.
Oh no, other teams can do it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Other teams can totally do it. Just not the Yankees. I think that the Rays. I'm always scared of the Rays. Rays scare me every single year. I'm scared of them. They're always super, super, super hurt, and they still play really well. With Glass now possibly coming back like mid-year, their rotation's kind of filthy as well. So I'm scared of the Rays more than the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I think the Blue Jays are fraudulent. I said that last year, and they 2 years ago when they started half the year and playing in their minor league complex in Florida and Buffalo. Yeah. Those fences those were way in. So their homer numbers were inflated big time. And I could see that coming. I think Bo Bichette's a fraud, too. I've said that multiple times. I don't see a way of them winning the division unless it's 92 or 93 games and the Yankees just have a terrible year, like Jackson said. Their pitching is I would say streaky. Gausman and Manoah are pretty good, but they've also been bad in their careers too, so we could see a little bit of regression from them.
Chris Bassett isn't good either.
Yeah.
I don't care what Mets fans tried to tell me last year.
Yeah, but they don't seem like they're good matchups. Or I feel like the Yankees have done all right against the Blue Jays' better pitchers over the years. Yeah, you know,
Their best pitchers are usually Jose Barrios. So
well,
I mean,
Barrios stinks. He might be better than he was last year. I
he
will
will
give
be.
them that.
The Blue Jays healthy rotation. This is their best five they can put out there right now. And I guess maybe this isn't including Hyunjin Ryu, which he's fallen off the face of the earth, but it includes Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, and Kikuchi. That to me as an opening day rotation for a team trying to win a division is just not it. It's just not it. I think the Blue Jays definitely did upgrade their bullpen because they got Swanson from the Mariners for Teoscar. I think that was a really good trade for them. But I don't know. It's if you just compare rosters, you could argue they have the best one. I don't buy teams like the Blue Jays ever. I don't buy teams like the White Sox. I don't like the feel of those type of teams.
It seems like to me the formula to beat the Yankees is to have a lot of righties that throw 99, 100. And I don't
it's
see
the
that.
Astros, yeah.
I don't see that in the Blue Jays. You know, Gausman has a sinker, but it's not upper 90s. I think it's mid 90s, and Manoah is just the Yankees have got him before. I think it's just a good matchup. The Blue Jays did get more left-handed this year. They got Kiermaier, and they've got the outfielder from Arizona who used to catch
Varsho, yeah.
Varsho, yeah. So they were all righties last year, other than
Yeah,
Biggio.
that's always been my favorite thing about facing the Blue Jays because we never really had Chapman was really like the only lefty for a long time, like Wandy kind of, but we would always just be able to. The Yankees are always considered righty heavy, and then we look at the Blue Jays and it just be
Their
down.
best 9 last year was 9 righties.
No, yeah.
When
And
Espinal started hitting a little bit, and the Yankees did kind of they got Nestor out of Blue Jay starts a couple times, because he's kind of the
I honestly
blueprint.
think
But
Nestor's stuff kind of works well against righties in like a weird way.
when
But yeah,
when he's turning that cutter inside, yeah.
obviously it's much better to for him to face that.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Obviously, we don't get to see the division people as much this year with the new schedule. So I guess I'll throw that
good
in there.
for us.
We didn't put it on the script, but Chris, initial thoughts, or not initial because it's been known for a while, but thoughts on the on the more balanced schedule now, and I certainly took that into account when I did my win losses. You know, you don't have to have
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
you don't have to have the divisions as balanced. But your thoughts on the balanced schedule?
Well, first off, I think it's just good for the game of baseball and good for fans to just be able to, if you're Kansas City Royals or something, like you can see all these big name teams come in that you wouldn't see all the time. And I think it's good for the balance of the game as well because the central divisions are just the worst divisions that have been for a really long time. So now that they have to play everyone, it's going to eventually even out. And I think in a couple of years, it's going to make a lot more sense than people now. But it does stink if you're a fan of like the Cardinals or something because now you got to play better teams. And they're like, oh, this isn't fair. Like I talked to my friend who's a Cardinals fan, and he doesn't like it. I'm like, yeah, because it makes your schedule harder. That's why you don't like it because you don't get to beat up on the bad teams in your division. So
It used to be where like I enjoyed the 18 games versus the Orioles. Oh, in 2019, I was having the time of my life.
What were we, 16-2 or something?
Boom, boom. See you later. But that's something I don't know about last year 100%. But I will say with pretty much certainty, the last 5 years or 4 or 5 years before that, the team that beat up on the Orioles the most had the best record against them, won the AL East. It's no longer that. First, the Orioles are decent now. So the Yankees, no matter what game they play within the division, it's going to be a really tough game. The Orioles, I would argue, were a tougher play than the Red Sox now, which I don't think is even a crazy
I had the
statement.
Orioles third in my prediction.
Yeah, I think you guys would agree. So, but I'm all for it. I think baseball's been behind like every other league, like NBA at least. And again, it's not the best product to watch, but I feel like they play so many different teams. It's never teams over and over because the most you'll play a team is 4 times in a year. And if that was equivalent to a 162 game season, it would be 8 times. It's because they only play half the games. Baseball was playing double that. So you do play a lot of games against your division. I like just seeing more players. And for people like us, we watch all this type of baseball. We're seeing all the players anyway. But for the casual-ish fan that only tunes in every once in a while, you're going to get exposed to a lot new different players. And I think that's good for the game of baseball. And I think that's how you spread the message and how you spread baseball to other people. Because otherwise, people only know the people in their team. But I think it's great for the Yankees to play less games against like the Rays. I'm all for it.
I think it's great to play some NL teams that we haven't seen in 5 years. I mean, obviously, right off the bat, we got the Giants and the Phillies at home. Now, we saw the Phillies 2 years ago when we played that division, but I think it's been...
Was it when Gary like hit the bomb in San Fran? Was that the last time we played the Giants?
Yeah, I don't... it's a game isn't coming to mind. Definitely pre-pandemic.
We played the NL West with
2019?
2019
Yeah.
with like the black jerseys.
Yeah, for the Dodgers.
Playing the Dodgers.
Oh yeah, that was Dodgers.
That was
yeah.
4 years ago. Like, we haven't seen
No,
these teams in a while.
Because I know they doubled up on the NL East for the COVID year or something because they had everyone.
Yeah.
They had a different schedule. So yeah, we haven't seen some of these teams in so long, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we got the Giants and then the Phillies for 3 right after that. Our first Blue Jays series is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday home series in the middle to end of April. One of those games is an Apple TV game. Yikes. And then our first Rays series is at the Trop in the beginning of May, and then next weekend we turn around and host them. Then we go to Toronto in the middle of May. We got a Reds series on the road in May. Padres
Our
at
graduation,
home.
it's like an 11 a.m. or something.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah,
Something
Peacock.
Game
521.
on Peacock. I'll be watching that in the seats.
Yeah, we go to
Where are you? Where are you?
we go to LA to play the Dodgers in the beginning of June. And our first Red Sox series is 3 in June. That's...
I feel like that happened last year.
It did, or maybe
It
2
did.
years ago.
Yeah, not last year because we played them opening week.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
We didn't play them for
Played
like
them
the
forever.
whole...
And then they swept
First
us
time.
at Yankee Stadium the first series. That was fun. But
I think we swept them back later in the year.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. But Mets just
Yeah,
after
so-
that at City in the middle of June, and then another Red Sox series. Trying to find what other big NL teams. So we got the Cardinals on the road in July, Cubs at home in July, Rockies on the road in July.
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
excited for like
Yeah.
the D-backs, the Rockies, like
Yeah,
those
we never
bad
see
teams
those
that don't get to
teams.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's like cool for the
What-
Yankees to play a game in Coors Field. That's just like awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time that's happened, and
When it can anybody even think of it? I've seen the Mets play a bunch there,
Yeah.
but I can't pinpoint the Yankees playing.
we got the Braves away. It's just one series against all these NL teams, so we're not going to go to every place this year. But we host the Brewers.
I think
Yeah, it rotates every other year.
Yeah, we
right?
go back to Pittsburgh. That was fun last year when I think we put like 18 on them or something.
the position player game.
Yeah,
where,
we're yeah, we hit like
I know
6 homers.
Hicks hit a righty homer.
Yeah.
That was definitely a fun
Yeah,
game.
we don't get to go to Arizona, unfortunately. They're coming to us in September, but just a brief little look there at the schedule. It'll be fun. You'll see some players that you don't see very often. I don't watch a whole lot of other baseball than the Yankees. I mean, I will here and there, maybe on an off day or something like that. But I went to a Mets game last year, and it was against the Diamondbacks, and I had no idea who any of those players were except for Ketel Marte, because I wanted him to come to the Bronx. But it'll be fun to
They
see
have
these NL
Drew
teams.
Jones now, right?
Yeah, I don't think
Well,
he'll be up.
He's not
Yeah.
in the
Oh, he
major.
won't be out.
But they've
No.
got some fun young
Well, they-
players.
They have Corbin Carroll, who's the fastest player in the MLB now, so that's going to be exciting.
So we're just over 30 minutes. Pretty good time here. The last thing we'll go with here is lineup predictions for tomorrow. Now, they've said a lot of things about Giancarlo playing the field so many times a week, so many times a year. But I'll start with this because I put it in our Canva, which I put it in the lineup card post that we're going to post tomorrow, the prediction. So I think it'll be DJ at second, leading off, Judge second and center, Rizzo third at first, Giancarlo fourth and right, Donaldson fifth at third, Glaber sixth at DH, Cabrera seventh and left, Trevino eighth behind the dish, and Volpe ninth at shortstop. So I think the only real thing that I would possibly change there is maybe flip Donaldson and Torres in the batting order, and then which one of the three gets the DH between LeMahieu, Glaber, and Donaldson. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, don't want to be boring, but to be honest, I kind of agree with exactly what you just said. It was already noted that DJ is going to lead off and Volpe will be ninth. It was basically publicly said that. But obviously, you're going to have Judge Rizzo, Stanton, 2 through 4. But then it becomes is Donaldson five? Is Glaber five? To me, it doesn't really matter too much.
Whoever isn't five is
And
going to
then
be
the
six,
DA,
probably.
yeah. And then I think it's going to be Cabrera, Trevino, and then Volpe 7, 8, 9, no matter what. But the DH is interesting because it's going to see how they manage that. Because when Stanton needs to get the DH, you're going to have to take LeMahieu, Donaldson, Glaber, Volpe out, which I'd rather
Not
him
going
just
anywhere.
play
He's
in the
not going
field.
anywhere because
No, I'm no out for like one day. I'm
well,
just saying.
because
But,
IKF's the only other shortstop.
Yeah, they're not playing Cabrera there.
well, you don't think Glaber would play short?
No, those days are long gone.
No, they said Boone said with the infield that Rizzo's obviously only at first, Glaber's only at second, Donaldson's only at third. Everyone else is going to move positions.
Yeah, that's right. Like
Mm,
IKF's the backup
I think
shortstop.
Glaber's probably the fifth string shortstop.
Oh, put
mm.
Yeah.
after Cabrera. Honestly, bring Judge there before Glaber. I think DJ's going to be DH just because he's older at this point. Like Glaber, I mean, Glaber is probably a better second baseman at this point in his career. He's just younger, and you want to get DJ off his feet. Like,
And if Donaldson's going to be in the lineup, you might as well use his glove.
yeah, and if
Yeah,
Donaldson's
and
in the lineup, Donaldson's hitting fifth. He's not going to hit low in the lineup. That's just not what Donaldson does. I really do think Hicks is playing tomorrow, though. Like, I wouldn't do it myself, but I think he's playing tomorrow. I think it's kind of an
over
FU.
Oswaldo.
I think it's an FU to Oswaldo because Oswaldo has played pretty well. But the way that the Yankees have their lineup set up, I think uh having Hicks in there is what they probably think he's a better bat at the moment. And I honestly I would agree.
Searching for a walk,
And
Aaron Hicks.
I think Hicks is probably a better bat at the moment. Oswaldo definitely clears him defensively, but I'd probably rather Hicks hitting than Oswaldo. And he'll hit like seventh after Glaber. So I'm not against it, but either way, I think that's the only real decision if it's Oswaldo or Hicks in that seventh spot. Otherwise, maybe like a DH thing or two, but everything else seems pretty laid out for us.
Or they could just DH Stanton and take one of the infielders out and play both Hicks and Cabrera. But I don't think that's happening.
They would have to take Glaber out, which
Yeah.
is just
Which they did last year on opening day. He didn't play opening day last year.
they started doing it they did it opening day and they
But then he
started,
came in and hit a nice pinch hit sac fly. But yeah,
it's just I think it's better to say I don't know. They hate playing Stanton in the outfield. When they say we want him out there 50 times,
that's
they
a total lie.
it's a total lie. Stanton wants to play because he feels more confident there.
And
It
he
is a
hit
little,
better when he was in the field.
little bit of a liability, but I mean, one thing I think is just hilarious every time is whenever Stanton hits the ball, it's just like he's just not running, and that's the point where he is with his injuries. They just tell him not to run. So I think that there's a chance Stanton DHs tomorrow. Either way, I'm putting my money on Hicks being in the lineup. So we'll see.
So that'll leave either Hicks or Cabrera on the bench, Higgy,
KF
and then Cordero and Florial.
and IKF. Yeah.
And IKF. So it could be 5 or 4 bench. But yeah, I think IKF will could be a pinch runner or a defensive replace. Florial could be a defensive replace.
I mean, I'm going to IKF off the bench to pinch it for Trevino in a big situation.
Yep.
Probably Oswaldo or anybody like that. I mean, IKF. I'm all aboard on the IKF is great again train. That he doesn't have to field ground balls at short. Now he's just like a good player for a team to have.
Yeah, if Donaldson loses his glove from last year, I'd be okay with IKF at third.
Back in there, but I mean, they definitely love Donaldson's bat, and hopefully he's made a change. But I mean, there was just too many moving pieces for an older guy that he was. So I mean, hopefully his standing up straighter and less moving pieces is going to help him hit. But all I need is for them to be a normal offense. And when we looked at this team in the beginning of spring training, we looked at a lineup that possibly included Trevino, IKF, Aaron Hicks, Josh Donaldson, and we were all losing our minds. Now we look at it, and now Volpe's in one of those spots. Of course, Trevino's there. He's not a good hitter, but he's a catcher. Then now it's possibly Cabrera, and then we see a little resurgence from Donaldson. All of a sudden, the lineup looks a lot deeper than it did a month ago. So I'm a little I'm optimistic. I'll say that. I'm not fully bought in, but I'm definitely optimistic on the lineup.
Yeah, so I I'd be shocked if Stanton's not in the field, but most days he won't be, and then it'll be roulette in the infield. One of those will get an off day. One day DJ will be at first. Rizzo will be on the bench. But the way that I see it now is I don't see a pinch hitter off the bench in a big spot unless it's the catcher up right now. And maybe
Yeah.
Franchi Cordero turns into the guy that he was supposed to be. I mean, he was a high prospect, but we don't have a Matt Carpenter to call upon this year. And that's not. I don't really love that initially. Maybe Hicks, but I don't like Hicks as a pinch hitter either because he's just up there looking for a walk. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how Boone manages the team this year. There's one extra player if Stanton's not in the field. So there was last year. I think we got around it for the most part. I read something that Donaldson didn't play third 2 days in a row until like June. So maybe that's something to look out for. Obviously, there is no game Friday, so Donaldson could be in there a couple times. But it will be really interesting, and I think it's anybody's guess to what'll happen because there's a bunch of options right off the bat that we mentioned here, and I would be. Would you guys be surprised if Higgy's in there tomorrow
Yeah.
instead of Trevino?
Very surprised.
Um, I would be surprised, but also, isn't Trevino dealing with an injury? I mean, I know he came back, but I would be shocked if Higgy played, but like if it happened, it would probably just be because of the injury. Like, that's what I would think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I almost think
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I don't think there's any shot of that. I mean, Higgy was away for like the whole spring training, and it stopped being Cole and Higgy a while ago. So I think Trevino's their guy. So
Yeah,
I don't.
after the first four starts, I think every single one of Cole's starts last year were for Trevino. So
Yeah.
yeah, Higgy was at Team USA, got a couple innings. I don't think he got an at bat. He did catch Tuesday's game against Washington in DC. I don't know how they'll do it this year. It seems like it's a 3-2 from what I get. Maybe it doesn't seem like they'll go Trevino 3 days in a row early on.
No shot.
So Higgy will get game three, which is Herman, I believe.
He'll get the Sunday game.
He'll get
Domingo
Herman.
Sunday. Those are my favorite Domingo starts. The double Sundays.
Yeah, but that's the catching situation. I think if you're the Yankees and as fans, if you guys get exactly what you got last year from the catchers, defensively and offensively, you take that.
They don't even need to bring bats up to the plate at that point. I'll take the defensive stuff and be good with it 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, Trevino's framing was literally best in the league based on all the analytics. It was phenomenal, and there were a couple of games where he did have some big hits, but
Way in the
I
air.
mean, not expecting like a ton from him from the bat, but he's your catcher, and if he's calling a good game and can be decent with the bat, you take that.
Yeah, so Trevino had that great start last year, All Star, if you remember. Higgy was atrocious with the bat in the first half of the year.
After his Babe Ruth spring training last year.
But Higgy actually did have a sneaky great end of the season. I think he got one of the homers off a position player, and I think he had a very solid last couple months. And so if you can get one of the catchers hitting well at a time, I think that's plenty. And if Higgy can get a little of that power back, that's an added bonus because Trevino is a great candidate for hitting runs and stuff like that. I know he'll probably be ahead of Volpe in the lineup, which isn't great, but I mean you can hit and run with a bunch of people. But yeah,
Overall, are you guys good with at least starting with Volpe 9? Because I know the idea of like a double leadoff hitter is kind of foreign at this point. The analytics,
so
at least,
I like the double lead off.
analytics probably say give your best players the most at bats. So, I mean, people may be like, oh, he should hit like seventh or eighth. I personally love it. because once the game starts, there's no more lineup. Like the lineup doesn't matter. Anybody can get up at any time. If it's Volpe, DJ, Judge, it's basically lead top of the order anyway. So I'm all for it. I'm just like I know DJ, like when he first was a Yankee, he definitely rose to the top, and they started wanting to get that type of bat to the top of the order. Because I mean, if Volpe's hitting ninth the whole year, he's gonna lose out on like probably 40, 50 at bats. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
a big fan of exploring a couple options once Harrison Bader comes back, and especially if Donaldson's not going, then maybe you throw DJ back into that 5 spot, and then maybe you try Bader lead off, Volpe lead off, and then whoever isn't lead off is ninth. So I think there's a lot of experimenting for Bader when Bader comes back, because I really don't think that they like putting DJ lead off. I mean, last year it felt like they tried to get him out of there, and then nobody was good at it. I mean, Glaber led off. Donaldson was lead off on opening day last year, and then they tried, Judge there during the home run chase, and then in the playoffs it was somebody different every day. So
why do you think that? Because like I personally love DJ leadoffs. Like I think he's great for it. I was assuming he's healthy. Like I don't think the whole aspect of needing like a fast guy is really a thing anymore. I feel like Judge has his most confident and consistent at bats when there is like DJ is getting on. Like I feel like Judge overall, he had a great year last year, but I don't feel like he saw amazing pitches on a consistent basis. I just think he was cracked out of his mind.
yeah, but
Well, back to the other thing though, I was going to say that I like Volpe at 9 to start off because one, there's a lot less pressure instead of being leadoff, because leadoff they're expecting you to kind of get on or at least see a lot of pitches. But ninth, he's going to get to see every person in front of him's at bat. He's going to get to talk to the guys in the dugout, to talk to Judge and Stanton when the pitcher pitched to them, and they're going to be okay. So look at this, look at the movement on this pitch, and I think it's actually going to help him get adjusted. But career-wise, I see him as a leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
That's what I see him as. But obviously, it's not the right circumstance yet to just throw him into that. And back to the DJ stuff, he was hurt with that nagging toe injury and stuff. He's kind of playing through stuff. I think he's a good leadoff hitter. I think he's our leadoff hitter right now.
yeah, the first half of last year he was really good. I think he was hitting up at the 270s, 280s, got a little bit of his power back, and then just the tough end of the year really kind of pulled his numbers back down. But if he's hitting 275, I think he's leadoff hitter, at least until Bader and Volpe are both pretty comfortable. But just a little preview into the Giants series here before we wrap up. It'll be Garrett Cole versus Logan Webb tomorrow. I don't know a whole lot about Logan Webb. He had a 2.9 ERA last year and 15-9 record. So, he's a pretty good starter. I think deserving of their number one since we took their best pitcher last year. Game 2.
And he's deserving of a spot on our fantasy team as well.
Oh, okay. I forgot. Alex Cobb, Game 2. Former Tampa Bay Ray. 3.7 ERA last year. That'll be against Clark Schmidt. And then Game 3 will be Ross Stripling, former Blue Jay, who I think
He just played a few pitch well last year.
I think we've done okay against him in the past too, and that'll be against Domingo on the Sunday. A little bit of a
more for the bats. I mean, you're coming out there. You're not facing a real ace. I mean, Logan Webb could definitely carve them up, but Logan Webb, Alex Cobb, and Ross Stripling, you gotta score runs.
Yeah, so just a little look at the lineup here for the Giants. I went through a couple of their spring training games, and pretty much every lineup was different. So I don't know which one was their best team, but
Did you look at like Fangraphs?
I didn't, but they got Lamont Wade, Tyro Estrada, Michael Conforto, Brandon Crawford, J.D. Davis, Mike Yastrzemski. I think Joey Bart is their catcher. So they've got a couple of good players in there.
Doesn't scare me.
Yeah, they do have a couple lefties that can.
You guys aren't dreaming of the short porch homer in the first inning because.
Oh no, it's gonna happen. It's
almost locked for me. I see Conforto running around those bases already. I'm terrified.
I could see the 3-hitter doing it after Cole strikes the first 2 out on 6 great pitches, and then he's
Yastrzemski or Conforto. It has to be Yastrzemski or Conforto.
No, there was actually a streak of time there where Garrett Cole, when he gave up a first inning home run, his numbers were like significantly better than when he didn't. I know there was a Red Sox game once at the stadium, and he gave up one to Bogarts in the first inning, and then he pitched like 7 innings the rest of the way without giving up another run. But I've accepted it. It's going to happen. We're going to be down 1-0 before we get a chance to hit. So I'm just hoping it's just one. Hopefully he doesn't walk. Hopefully he doesn't have a first inning like last year on opening day.
Hey, Rizzo came right back, and we were back in it.
And we won the game.
I mean, yeah, I think a good start is really what the Yankees need. I mean, again, every team needs it, but just with the day off after, a loss is gonna feel double. It's gonna because you can't bounce right back up. So either way, let's go and put a good game out there. I mean, who knows how it's gonna go, but I'm just excited it's back, and I'm really excited to go through the season with you guys.
Chris, any more closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I think we should just do a breakdown of like what the listeners should expect for the rest of the season, basically. So our current plan is to have like a short podcast, and we're gonna also upload to Spotify too after each series. So whether it's a 3-game, 2-game, or 4-game series, just thoughts about the games, who played well, stuff like that. And then obviously if there's any injury news or any big updates like that, and I think we'll just go from there. And then obviously just posting the lineups and the final scores on social media, highlights, home runs, stuff like that as well.
And so thanks for tuning in to the second episode of the New York Yankees Kingdom podcast. We will see you Sunday sometime after Game 3 of the Giants series. For Jackson, Chris, Sean, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.